It's blocking you from experiencing a life where you feel a dveikus b'Hashem that really is the source of happiness and everything that's important and everything that's real for this world and for the next world. Etzem ha'anochius, just the essence of the anochius, shemekorim and hayeshus, which the makar of anochius comes from yeshus of, it's very hard for me to define this, but the etzem idea of the essence of a me, my meanness, that's the word I came up with, me-ness, my meanness. Not meanness, my me-ness. How much me is in my life? How much importance I give to my me. The source of that comes from a yeshus, of a being, existence, hu koyach chamri. It's a physical koyach. It is a materialistic physicality that is nifrad min habayri yisbarach shemai, that is separate from the Creator. Shezeh koyach ha-sitra achra. So it's a koyach of the sitra achra from the other side, because it's not coming from godliness and spirituality. Uvechinas Elohim acherim. The kuf is wrong. It should be Elohim acherim. And it's a concept of serving another God. It's another thing in my life that I have to deal with. Like one thing is Hashem, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's a lot of other things that I am serving in my actions and my activities. You got what I'm saying? So in my decision process, I'm not 100% dedicated to Hashem, because the anochius, which is yeshus, which is meanness, all of a sudden is a factor that's at the table when I'm making a board meeting to make decisions in my life. There's Hashem, and then there's other stuff. I don't want to have a parlor meeting in my house because it's going to ruin the carpet. So the parlor meeting in the house is for Hashem. What does Hashem want? A parlor meeting in my house. Ruining the carpet is the fact that Hashem gave me a carpet and I don't want it to get ruined. So I'm serving not just this God, I'm also serving the God of carpet. I don't know if it's such a good example or not. I think some people would say it's spot on. Some people would say no, but I do have a carpet, and I do have to worry about the carpet. It's putting other things in the way of deciding what I would purely decide if my only consideration was dveikus b'Hashem. So it's a form of idol worship. And we all do it. We all make decisions that are not just clear-minded like a gadol adar. Gadol adar, whatever he does is what his Daas Torah is. His mind, his Daas, zu hakaras habayre, is Torah. So sometimes he may not even have to go through the whole cheshbon, because what he does is what Hashem wants him to do. Nothing else matters. By us, other things matter. The more things that matter, that is in our lives, Elohim acherim. That when we make a decision, part of our decision process is Hashem. Part of it is our reputation, is Elohim acherim, is another God, serving another God. Our ego, our kavod, respect, our money, all different stuff. So we're not solely focused on what does Hashem want from me, and serving Hashem, we're also serving other things. And that is based on the more anochius and yeshus. I hope you're getting what these words mean. The more me that is involved in my decision process, the more me that's involved in my life, so the more diluted pure service of Hashem is. I think that could be pshat. He doesn't say this, but I think that's pshat why it says by a Baal Gaiva, someone who has Gaiva, someone who has zich, someone who has ego, Hashem says, there's no space for me. I can't live with you. By someone who's a Baal Aveira, Hashem says, because if you don't have a noichias and you don't have a big ego, but you sin and you struggle and you have big problems and issues, Hashem says, okay, I got that. You're humble. There's room for me. when there's a lot of yeshus and there's a lot of anochias, and again, it's a bigger struggle than the Sayin HaOsher is very big. Look at my house, my mansion, my this, my that. Please don't wipe your feet outside. Don't get it. I don't want to get dirty. Everything is very, that makes it much harder to do mitzvahs. Now, the other rebuttal are going to say, the other people are going to say, what are you talking about? Since I got this mansion, I made so much money, I do so much good with it. And I have parlor meetings, and we have the Achnasas Archim, and Yidden do tremendous things. Yidden use their money and their time and everything and their energy, everything, to do tremendous things. So this is not about money versus not money at all. Because you could have so much money and do so much good, and your yeshus and anochias, how serious you take yourself and your needs, is very low. You could have no money, and you could be resentful and awful and stealing or lying or angry or bitter and kolakayas ki'ilu oived avodah zarah with bad midas. It's not that, only that. It's harder, though, when we're talking about the feeling of me and materialism. It's harder when we have more materialism. So we have to work on it harder. So he takes it even further. Ha'anochius v'ha'yeshish sheba'adam. This anochius, the amount of meanness and my yeshus, my physicality that I have in my mind about myself, heim asherish peirosh velana. That is the root of all of the things that are bitter. L'chol hamidas reis. Everything sprouts forth from anochius and yeshus. And it comes also l'kina taiva v'kavod v'alei anema ki yetzer leiv ha'odam ramen urav. All of this anochius and yeshus that we're trying to describe what it is, that we don't normally think of, I never thought about it until I saw it over here, that they don't teach us in yeshiva that there's a problem with it. He says, not only it divides you, it is the source of all bad midos. It's the source of kinna. I'm jealous because I feel like I deserve, because I am a me. I am. I need. Taiva, I need. I want. I desire. There's a me. If I felt that it's hard to describe what he's talking about. Look at the tzaddikim. They didn't need anything, so they weren't lohot achar taivas. And kavod, respect. Why do I deserve any respect at all? That's the easiest one to see how that comes from anochius and yeshus. Because if I didn't feel that I am a very important person, I would not require or feel that I need respect. And this anochius and yeshus, on this it says ki yetzer leiv ha'odam ram urav. The yetzer of the heart of man is raz, evil min urav. Because when we're born with this feeling of gimme, me, I. A 2-year-old, his whole world is 100% just about him. But hopefully by the time we're 20, 30, 40, 50, we can dilute it to realize it's not about me. And my needs are not as important as the greater needs and Hashem's needs and all of that. Ein adam masig tikun midoisav al nechoina ad sheyaker mimenu midarazu. Scary. If we don't focus on this and work on this, Yom V'Layla, we will never get there. A person will never reach to be mitakein, to fix his character traits properly, until he uproots from in him this bad midah. Which bad midah? How much anochius and yeshus I have. I would say that we really have to have a workbook. I would say, and I would say for myself as well, and I don't think I could do it, that the next time that I want something, I should just get the next thing. I always told my kids, when you have to get a car, let's say you could afford up to whatever, get the one under it. Just give up something. You're not going to get, if you could afford an $800 a month car, you're not going to get a $200 a month car unless you're super cool. Super cool. I saw one of the biggest Gevirim in Klal Yisrael. I don't want to say his name, but his net worth starts with a B, as in boy. And his children lived near me, and I saw him coming to visit. And he pulled up in a car that is 20 years old, drove himself, his 20-year-old car, drove himself, got out with his raincoat and regular shoes and regular pants. And I'm like, and the guy is literally doing real estate deals, hundreds of millions of dollars. His signature is worth, it's unbelievable how much he's worth. And he gets out like a regular person. He walks out, slams the door didn't really close, gave it a kick, you know. And I said to myself, wow, he's so cool. He can come with a stretch limo and have a driver, and he deserves it. And he's an older person, and he earned it. You know, Hashem graced him, but he earned it. Whatever. It's not a waste of money for him, and he gives plenty at tzedakah. He's one of the biggest bali tzedakah. He has plenty of money left over. And he could have somebody open up the door for him, and he didn't have to go to the trunk himself and take out his ripped. But I said to myself, I said, he's so cool, because he's so not wrapped up into anything materialistic. That's, to me, something that is so cool. When he makes a wedding, he's not making a $5 million wedding. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. He's living, he's so above it. He's so above it. I'll tell you a story. 30 years ago, I was friendly with a very chashuv Maggid Shir. He was about 20 years older than me. And he's a very brilliant person. He went to learn in Eretz for Koil. After he got married, he was a lawyer, and he went for 1 year. And it's by now, 30 years later. No, he was there already, so it's about 40 years. He's a brilliant man, and he gave a Nefesh HaChaim shir in a yeshiva for very, very, very shvacha kids. And I used to go with him. I enjoyed his shir, so I went with him Thursday night. I became friendly with him. I ate by him Shabbos. I was a bacher in the mir. And I went with him Thursday night. And the guys would come and put their feet up, and they were cool dudes. And one time, I needed, I don't remember, I needed a drink or something. Anyway, I was schmoozing with this kid. This kid was about 17 years old. He was dressed from head to toe in leather. He had leather boots with the metal studs. He had leather pants. He had like a leather belt. He had like a tight shirt, and then he had a leather jacket, and he had this amazing hair that was greased back, slicked back. And I was standing next to him, and the Maggid Shir, my friend, who was at that time, 20 years older than me, 25 years older than him, who comes, he was a lawyer, he could have been a lawyer, but he dedicated his life to learning. And he came walking down the hallway, and we just watched him, and he was like shuffling his feet. His shoes, and walking in Israel, your shoes get ruined. His shoes, I don't know, the sole was not really connected to the actual, it was like there was air conditioning going on. There was, room in between. And his like shirt was like, he was kind of schlumpy. His hat was like that Israeli brown that was once black, but too much sun, and it wasn't put on. And he had a toothpick in his mouth, and he was just holding his Nefesh HaChaim, and he was just walking. And this kid turns to me, because he got to see this Rebbe every week for a while, and he got to see. He had Havana. This is a deep kid. I wonder where he is today. I'm sure he's not driving a motorcycle, because he had depth. And he was from England, and he tells me, I'll never forget, he says, that man is the coolest man in the world. He chapped that this guy, he could have dressed the sharpest clothing, he had money, and he just was above it where he didn't need it. I said it recently, I'll say it again. One of the most beautiful things I saw, Reburi Zohar Zatzal, at 40 years old, he was in the top of Israel. He was the greatest showman, TV star. He had a mansion. He had everything that a person could want, that a guy could want, that a not religious, not spiritual person can want. He had everything. Money, fame, glory. And he became a Baal Tshuva at 40 years old. I met him when he was 80, And he told me, Avi, I call myself 40 because I only start counting being alive from when I became an Eved Hashem, when I became frum. Like Rebbe Kiva, he told me. He became frum at 40. I'm only 40. And then you see over here, you can go look at it online. They have a video of him in his apartment. And he gave up the glory. He gave up the mansion. He gave up everything. And he's the happiest guy in the world. And he's sitting on a table that one of the legs is missing the bottom, and it's held up with phone books. So they didn't even make phone books in the last 10 years. So there's got to be like this for at least 10 years. And he had plenty of gaboyim and people who loved him. And he could have said, do me a favor, fix it. He didn't need it to be fixed. Yichab? Not that he didn't fix it. He didn't need it to be fixed. That's the point. If you fix it, it's okay as long as you don't need it to be. He doesn't need it. And he told me, he said in the video, Hakol po close control. I didn't know that that's Ivrit. He said here everything is close control. He was sitting right behind his little dining room table on a old living room couch. Right in front, he says, that's my dining room table, and that's where I learn. Here's my svarim. There's my kitchen. It was maybe 10 feet away. His little broken down Israeli kitchen. It was a big avodah for him. He separated from needing anything in this world in any way. And the more he did that, the more he became available to become davik and connected to Hashem. It's a seesaw. The more davik we are to ourselves and our needs and physical needs and materialism, the more we need it, which is hard if you have money and you're getting stuff. It's hard. It's harder. But again, it's not just about money, because people who are poor also could be very materialistic, and even more because they don't have, so they're running after it, and it means a lot to them. So it's not just about money. It's a seesaw. The less I care, the less I need, the more I'm available for godliness in my being and spirituality and all of that. And he said the words that I actually took a screenshot of that, and I put the words underneath, and my son helped me make it beautiful, and I have it in my house, in a beautiful plaque. He said, I am the richest person in the world because there is not one thing that I want that I don't have. That is riches. The more I need, the more my list will never finish. Because and the more that I need, the less cool I am. When I saw him say that, I said, that is so cool, because he broke out of everything. He broke out of all the TV shows and all of the movie shows, and he broke out of everything that the world is trying to sell us. And even if you open up our From magazines, everything being sold to us, and needing delicious food, and needing expensive food, and needing. We need so much, and we're so miserable. We're so unhappy. He said, I'm the richest, most wealthiest person in the world. Look at Tesla owner. What's his name? He's miserable. I think he has children that don't talk to him. People who are into gashmias, whether it's money or whether it's just caring about my kavod or caring about anything about, now it doesn't mean we're all going to be schlumpy. We just have to focus. That's what the Nesivas Shalom is working so hard on portraying to us, to have clarity that, yes, you can look good, but that's not what matters. Do it because you should do it, and you should look like a mensch, and you have to look like a mensch, and you have to be presentable, and you shouldn't be a shlump, but that's not what matters. It's the value. That's the issue. When we value it, and then it comes out sometimes so clear when we give up ruchnius because of that value. But even when we don't, it's around us. That value is surrounding our being. Little bits, sometimes big walls, sometimes tissue, another tissue, until the magnet just isn't strong. And that's what he's trying to tell us. If a person can come to this unbelievable level, again, we're not going to get there today. So like I said before, if you can buy a car and you decide, I'm just going to get the one step less than what I could have gotten, you're showing that even though I need, and maybe I'm not perfect, maybe I should get 3 steps below, but at least I'm not totally sucked into this, why not? I could afford it. Do less than you can. You could buy a suit for $700, buy it for $500. You could buy it for $300, buy it for $250. I'm not saying that everybody should buy the cheapest suit and become like that Rebbe who totally didn't care about how he looked and only cared about his davening and his tefillah. We can't all do that. But what we could do is just simmer down. We could afford a 12-piece band. Mamash afforded. I'm not talking about the sickness, nebuch, that exists of people who are borrowing money or who are pressured to get stuff that they can't afford. Different shmooze. But even what you could afford, just lower it. Why? Why? Why should I lower it? Here is why we're spending so much time. People don't even understand the value of lowering the anaychias, the yeshus, the chamrias. To lowering it, they don't even realize that there's a value to it. The value is I'm giving that space up to have a little godliness in my life. But what does it have to do with Hashem? Everything. When I devalue it completely, I have bittul hayeshus. I don't count. I don't matter. It's nothing about me. Then I don't have kinna. I don't have taiva. I don't have kavod. Because that's only shaykh to a person, to a yesh, to someone who has needs. And every single person in the world would sign a shtar right now if you could sign it and live like that. We all know that's a better life. We all know that kinna taiva v'kavod mitzina sa'adam and ha'olam. Kinna taiva and kavod mitzina sa'adam and hadas. Kinna taiva and kavod mitzina sa'adam and hasimcha sa'chayim. Kinna, taiva, and kavod are our biggest enemies that destroy us throughout our life and ruin our life for no benefit. And sometimes it looks like it's really for a good thing and it's a mitzvah, but many times it doesn't even look. We can't even fool ourselves. It's just about us. Because I need. And we all wish we could live without it. There's no person in the world that really believes that my life is better off feeling like I have all these needs. My house, my children have to dress a certain way. We all know that if we can sign a piece of paper, wake up tomorrow morning, and we have no yesh, we're still going to eat, we're still going to drink, we're still going to go to work, we're still going to have money, we're still going to give tzedakah, but the value in our mind, the importance in our being is going to be gone, and we're not going to have any kinna, taiva, and kavod. We're going to be the happiest people in the world. The Vilna Gaon says that if not for kinna, every person would be perfectly happy living in a hut with no flooring, just mud. How much pressure do we have that we scaled up, we upgraded, we became upscale from that hut to the life that we have to have, and the lifestyle that we have to have, and all the things that we have to have, because everyone else has it, that some people who never, if you're uber wealthy, different shmooze, but you have a responsibility, and also you're still wrapped up in yeshus and chamrias. But how many people borrow money, have pressure? The Baal Simcha is miserable. Somebody said he was at a wedding, beautiful wedding, probably cost $200,000. Everybody's having a great time. The Baal Simcha was depressed. He couldn't function. Somebody went over to him and said, "Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you dancing? Your child's getting married." He said, "Ma'aseh yodai tavu bayom v'ani yom shira." He was alluding to the medrash that says that when the angels wanted to sing shira, sing praise to Hashem, Hashem said, my hard work, my ma'aseh yodai, my creations, these mitzrayim are drowning, and you say shira? Even though they're goyim, and even though they tormented Klal Yisrael, but they're my creations, and they're drowning, it's not a time to sing praise. So he says, Ma'aseh yodai, my hard-earned money, is tabu bayam, is being flushed down the toilet, and I should be happy. Different shmuz. how a part of this yeshus and chamrius causes us to have needs that are so ridiculous, and we all know it. We all know it. Everybody knows a wedding is 6 hours, and that the Hasidim who managed to outsmart us, and the yeshivish people who managed to have takana weddings, for them, for 8,000, 10,000, 18,000, they have a wedding that is so besimcha with a one-man band, and the chas and kala are just as happy as our chas and kala. They have just as much chance to live a happy life as our chas and kala, and we flush down the toilet for who? We say it's for the chas and kala because he has to have an 18-piece band. You're never going to have shalom bayis if you have a 10-piece band. The whole thing is ridiculous. It's all what the Vilna Gaon said. It's all because he did it, and because he did it, so now it's a standard. I have to be with the standard. The whole standard is we're killing ourselves. We're sucking out millions of dollars, and some of us are really hurting because of it. And even those who are not really hurting are a little bit hurting. And I'll tell you something else. Let's say you have the money for it. Do you know if your grandchildren are going to have money? Does anybody know how many people that were wealthy 50 years ago and their grandchildren or great-grandchildren are hardworking and they don't have all this extra money? So now you're rolling in it. Put it away. Buy your kid a house. I don't want to talk about myself, but I'm very proud. I offered my children. I said, if you want to make a wedding, whatever it costs, well, 50,000 in those days, 10 years ago, 80,000, whatever it's going to cost, fine, whatever the Mechatanim wanted, we went along with. I said, but if you're willing to do a takana wedding, I asked them, are you willing to do a takana wedding? And you've been to Tiferes Rivka, beautiful hall, everything's fine. Nobody died of hunger, and it's very besimcha, the one-man band. Are you willing to do that? And I asked them that. And I asked them that because I was trying to see how much did I fail or how much did I win at trying to raise my children to not need just because everyone else has. And if every child would say, I don't need it. You know what I need? A chassan. You know what I need? A kala. Sometimes there's so much going on that the last people that are needed is a chassan kala. There's the crews and the stuff. Whether it's the parents that need, whether it's the kala that needs, whether it's the chassan that needs, it's like you're getting married. You're going to enter into a marriage to build a bayis nem and be Yisrael. All of this stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And very holy people make bar mitzvahs for their kids. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, when he was bar mitzvah, his father took him to shul, said, today's your bar mitzvah, and he brought a thing of herring and a thing of crackers. I know you can't do it today. I know we can't do it today. But can we just understand that what we are doing isn't for the benefit of the bar mitzvah boy? It's because we're wrapped up in a spiraling society and nobody is strong enough to be cool enough to break out of it. Very few people. And we're all doing it for everybody else, and everybody's doing it because we need to, because he did it and we couldn't do it. I asked one parent, like, why don't you just do a takana wedding? He said, because, my other 3 kids, I did an expensive $100,000 wedding. It's not fair. And the other one says, well, because I want to do future, for my other. We all have reasons, but nobody really believes that it really matters. And if we didn't have any yeshus, and there was no kinna, taiva, and kavod, our whole existence, we'd be so much happier. We would spend less, we would need less, things wouldn't matter as much. Yeah, if you have money, you need comfort, you can go to business class, but if you get downgraded, it's not the end of the world. I don't really need it, even if you spend it. But there's a difference between spending it and getting caught up in the need. Ki einam shayechem lebechinas yesh. And that's why hakina v'atayva v'akovid moitzinas ha'adam and oilam. Kina, taiva, and kovid, it takes a person out of the world. What does it mean? So I think this is what it means, my own shot. Hashem gave us a world that he put us into. Hashem created a world. And there's ruchnius and there's gashmius. And there's connecting dveikos b'Hashem and hakaras habayri in our mind. And then there's kina, taiva, v'akovid. And there's all these things. And Hashem put us into his world that he created. so we can connect to Him, so we can be davik by Him. He gave us mitzvahs, which is, the Zohar Kodesh says, mitzvah is a lashon of tzivsa. It connects us to Hashem. Every mitzvah is connected to Hashem. He wants us to have Shabbos to be completely davik to Hashem, the day of Beini Uvein B'nai Yisrael. He wants us to have a derhoib in our life. He wants us to live like the tzaddikim are zeicha to live, and we really do want to, we see that they're happier. We really do want to live like them. That's what we really, really, really wish and want. But the kinah taiva kavod moitzinas ha'adam min ha'olam, from the world that Hashem created us, takes us out and puts us into our own world. Umachnis ha'adam la'olam moi, olam acher lagamri. That's my own words. Takes us out of God's world and puts us in our own world, where the most important thing is all these things about me and me and me and me and me. And I'm going to do Torah mitzvahs also. But there's a lot of me. And a lot of our lives are serving Elohim Acherim, other gods that were not focused just on what Hashem wants. As long as you have those midas of kinah taiva v'akavod, which is destroying our lives, whether a little or a lot, kinah and taiva and kavod destroys our lives. And it runs our lives, and it makes our decisions for us. And as long as we have these midas oisi, it's a sign shehachomer v'hayeshu shaboy adayin b'toikvam, that our chomer, our materialism, and our yeshus, our zich, our us, our me-ness, is still strong. It's controlling us. We're not being controlled by what's better for the greater good and what Hashem wants and living a life. We're being controlled by this thing. V'oisei davar kasheyesh ba'adam itzvain ruach hanivei ma'yeshu shaboy. And now we know why there's depression. Why is there more anxiety and depression in our dar than ever before in the history of the world? Very simple. Because never in the history of the world was anybody ever so spoiled as us. And it's not our fault. And it starts when we're born. Kids used to not get everything they wanted. And now even poor people, everybody has socks. Everybody has indoor plumbing. I told you want to fix the whole thing, that you're going to feel no yeshus, get rid of indoor plumbing. When you have to go out in the cold at 3 o'clock in the morning to an outhouse, and then use a rock, to wipe yourself, pretty much our kinah taiva v'akavod is our chamris, our yeshus, big blow. But 3-ply plus, what does it say here on my desk? Puffs, ultra soft with lotion? We don't stand a chance. You see the difference from when we were kids in a million different ways. First of all, we didn't have everything we wanted. If we didn't like what the food was, guess what we were told? That's what you're going to eat. Now we can't do that. We're going to have psychotic children. We can't go back. But the fact is that we have so much zich, so much yesh, that it really affects the mental health of all of us. When we were a kid and we came to shul, you got a lollipop, and the lollipop dropped and cracked, or someone pushed you and it dropped and it cracked, and you cried, I don't think you got another lollipop. Now it's like, shh, okay, relax. What happened? No problem. Okay, here's another lollipop. Don't worry about it. And you have to do that. But it's inculcated. Our diapers were cloth. Now it's like, I don't know the names anymore. But it's like triple ply, super, everything's cushy, mushy, yushy, and it has to be. We have no choice. But the result of my physicality being so important to me that I can't live without it. And I know I can't. I can't live without being comfortable. So therefore, I have so many needs. And therefore, we have a problem of itzvain ruach, depression, tzebrachenkai, brokenness, comes from the more yeshus we have. So when someone says, well, what's wrong with driving what used to be Lexus? Or what's wrong with driving that car? What's wrong? So much. But I can't put my finger on it. You have to listen to the whole shmooze and realize that for you, and especially for your children, you're causing them to have a higher chance to need medication when they're older. But what's wrong with having a moose knuckle, is that what it's called? A moose knuckle coat. That's $1,500. We could afford it. We could afford it. And I'm thinking about getting one because I hear it's unbelievable. What's wrong with getting it? What's wrong? Everything. Because it's another layer of me, of importance, of mushy cushy me. And it's a problem because we can't undo it. But a little bit we can. It starts with up here, with focusing. Whoever really wants to be close to God. If you really care to have dveikos b'Hashem, you will not reach it. Please listen to the Nesivei Shalom, because we are not used to hearing this. And we can live our whole life and not have true dveikos b'Hashem, which is the most important thing and the reason that we were created, and a wonderful life with less depression, less anxiety, less sadness, more amunah, more bitachon, feeling connected to Hashem for real. He says you're not going to comprehend this in your system. You're not going to get there. Only if you have bitul hayeshus, where your yeshus, your physical comforts, don't matter. And it's devaluated. Lebechinas ayin, it's nothing. Kirak, lebechinas ayin, yochel yisdavuk im ha'ein seif. Only by feeling nothing can you connect to the ein seif. It's a play on the words ayin and ein. The more I feel something, 1%, I can only be 99% connected to the ein seif, to the infinite. The more I have of me, the less I'm connected to Hashem. And on this midah of having a yeshus, it says in the pasuk, Lo yebecha el zar, b'daika chazal, el zar shebekirbecha. Don't have in you an el zar, means the el zar inside of you. Doesn't mean on the outside. Don't have another God that you hug or that you believe in another God. It means inside of you. Lo yebecha el zar. We have to fatrab, we have to throw out this other God that's in our being, that is dictating to us and deciding for us how we live our life and what's important, how we spend our money, how we live our life. The Yeshus is a koyach nifrad. It's a separate koyach from Hashem.